Welcome back to the My Practice, My Business, Clinical Business of Dentistry podcast. Tracy and I are writing a book called Unmasked, Exposing the Hidden Business of Dental Insurance. And today we're going to talk about a little segment from it. Let's just think about this for a minute. One sentence, hundreds of millions lost for dentistry. The sentence that cost dentistry a fortune. We're going to begin our podcast right there.
Welcome, all of you fantastic dental podcast listeners, to the My Practice, My Business Dental Podcast Show, where we help dentists profit and thrive with excerpts from the clinical business of dentistry training here at My Practice, My Business. We'll be addressing and answering questions with current trends dentists and their teams face each and every day in their pursuit of this wonderful career we call dentistry. And now the host of our show, the clinical director and president at My Practice, My Business, Dr. Rob Thorup.
We're joined today by my sweetheart, Tracy Thorup. Say hi to everybody.
Hi, everybody. Glad to be here.
You know, have you ever stopped to think about how much damage a single sentence can do? Like, not an entire law, not an insurance contract, not even a court decision. Almost swore there, but I promise I'll try to keep it clean. Just one sentence. A sentence so small that most dentists have probably read past it for decades without giving it a second thought. And yet, that one sentence has quietly shaped reimbursement, influenced insurance company behavior, altered clinical documentation, and, in our opinion, it has cost dentists across America hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain. And what am I talking about? Well, we're going to get to it. Today, we're talking about one of the biggest coding mistakes in modern dentistry. Not because someone intended to hurt dentists, no, but because nobody, and I mean nobody, had the courage to fix it once they realized what it had become. What is that sentence?
Here's what I want you to do. Hopefully you're not driving and you're at your desk listening to this wonderful podcast and you have your CDT Code book handy. So open up that CDT Code book and I want you to turn to any procedural category pretty much. Open it up. You can go to restorative, you can go to perio, you can go to wherever you want. Near the beginning, you'll find language that says something very similar to local anesthesia is usually considered to be a part of blank procedure. Now, that sentence appears throughout the CDT Code book, and it has been doing that for years. Most dentists will accept it. Insurance companies certainly did. But here's the question that nobody asked. What exactly does the sentence mean? Does it mean dentists should never document anesthesia? Does it mean that anesthesia can never be reported? Does it mean that local anesthesia has no value? Does it mean no operating costs to do it? Or does this simply mean that the category description recognizes that many procedures commonly involve local anesthesia? There are a bunch of different conclusions that we can reach with this one.
Yet for years, so many years, I mean, since 2000, many third-party payers, they treated those words as if they meant one thing: never pay for anesthesia, and force it to be bundled and or inclusive to every procedure. And you know, words matter, especially when they become policy and especially when they become justification, and especially when billions of dollars move because of them. One word in that sentence deserves attention, just one, and it goes clear back to that lawsuit that a dozen dentists or so on the East Coast formulated against the American Dental Association back in the day when the insurance companies tried to get the ADA to remove all anesthetic codes from the CDT Code book. That one word, usually, not always, not never, usually is the word. Somehow usually, though, became always. And that's where I think, honey, the problem really began. Because what is dentistry actually providing?
Well, and I want to ask a simple question. What happens every time a dentist administers local or regional anesthetic?
Well, the patient goes numb and they're comfortable.
There you go, and it's free. But the answer is much more than injecting a carpal of anesthetic.
But yet that's how it's viewed by all the colleagues out there. Whenever we ask a question, do you charge for anesthetic? Oh, we just include it. Why? Well, it's just a carpal. It doesn't cost anything.
Oh, that kills me.
Yeah.
Well, really.
But what do you really
What
do,
does it
Doc?
really mean? It means the dentist evaluates the patient. The dentist reviews medical history, considers contraindications, selects the anesthetic, chooses the technique, determines the dosage, uses sterile supplies, documents the procedure, monitors the patient, maintains emergency preparedness, assumes professional liability.
Can I just add to that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to go there because I loved it. One of our docs and their teams that came through training, one of our clients, he made a comment about this when we hit this topic in the team training. He said, what's really interesting is that's probably the most riskiest procedure that I do, giving anesthetic. Why wouldn't I charge for it?
That's what I love about our classes is we have these open conversations with our providers and the team members, having these discussions. And a lot of times it causes us to look at things from a new perspective too.
Every one of those steps you just listed carries a direct operating cost. Every single one of them. And there is a direct operating cost to every injection administered.
So when you total the supplies and the staff time and the equipment and the sterilization, documentation, liability, emergency readiness, overhead, many practices estimate that each injection site represents approximately $30 to $40. I'm going to say more.
Well, 30 to 40 is being pretty generous.
Yeah.
Because I actually calculated ours on our direct operating costs per hour. And to deliver one carpal anesthetic
50.
was just to break even. Just to break even was about $45.
There you go.
Unless I pump it in fast, then I can get it down to $35.
And this is the problem. We don't look at the direct operating cost to do the procedure. And when we're already taking a hit financially when it comes to reimbursement for these services that we provide, then we add an additional $40, $50 hit on top of it for the anesthetic. That's a problem. And,
that's before I've even earned $1.
Exactly. Well, that's reality. It's not opinion.
It's just reality.
Yeah.
So why I've always asked myself, why is dentistry different? Because like we've talked about, I put myself through school in emergency medical services as an EMT. When I graduated from dental school, moved to a small town, rural town in Utah, drove to the Salt Lake Valley from the rural town, and it was a volunteer EMS system. So I got sucked back into volunteering as an EMT intermediate or EMT advanced, as they're now known. And what was crazy to me is medical, I was in it. We billed for injections all the time. And
our little 5-pound chihuahua, the veterinarian, billed for her injections.
Pain management specialists, they bill for injections. Orthopedic physicians bill for injections. You went to the chiropractor.
Yep, trigger point injections. That was a godsend. But it cost me money.
So why is dentistry different? That's the question we've asked for years. And no one has given us a satisfactory answer why dentistry is different.
So this is where it gets fun. We started asking questions about 3 years ago. Rob and I began asking the ADA coding department very simple question. Why is the sentence
the sentence here?
I can't even speak today. I get so frustrated when I think of this stuff.
Well,
but why?
List the sentence again so everybody knows what it says.
Local anesthesia is usually considered to be a part of blank procedure.
Okay, so why is that sentence even there?
Well, and this is where it frustrates me. The ADA considers bundling of services to be potentially fraudulent.
I want to get into that a little later. Don't get ahead of us.
I know. I'm all over the place with it. But
who wrote that?
And why was it written?
Well, and here's the killer. What evidence supported it? Why would they even, did a bunch of altruistic dentists in the ADA decide to write that? Because what economic analysis justified it?
Well, and what scientific literature demonstrated that dentistry alone should absorb those costs?
You would say that as an MBA, wouldn't you?
Right. I'm so smart. But those questions weren't attacks. We weren't trying to attack the ADA.
No, they were legit questions.
Yeah. And they deserved legitimate answers. Eventually, something really cool happened, though.
Yeah.
We put in another request again.
How many requests had we put in?
I think we're
third. That was the third one.
I think that was the third one. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. But the individual involved in creating the language admitted something most people never expected to hear. And I have to say, at least he dropped his ego, and at least we know he's not a narcissist, and at least we know actually he is I hate to even say he's an effective leader, but at least he recognized that his leadership was wrong.
Well, and this is where I won't forget this event, because we were training our Pennsylvania offices during that time, and usually in March is when they vote on these codes. So just so all of you listeners know, is you have the ability until November to put in a request for the ADA Code Maintenance Committee.
We do it all the time. Every year we have a request that follows business structures. But I was blown away when he said we received a text message from one of our insiders in the coding department.
Who said that he stood up and stated that he wished he had never supported it.
Think about that, people. He wished he'd never supported that language. This member of the ADA CDT Code Maintenance Committee acknowledged the unintended consequences. That takes a lot of humility.
And we appreciate the honesty, because admitting a mistake is the first step towards correcting it.
Yeah. The problem wasn't his willingness to acknowledge it. The problem was what happened afterward, or perhaps more accurately, what didn't happen afterward, which was so frustrating. So there's been years and years of delay on this because, again, we've hit it for 3 years. For 3 years, we submitted these requests. We explained why the language was creating confusion, and we demonstrated how insurance companies had relied upon it to control us.
Oh,
played right into their hands. Mm-hmm. And we pointed out that contradiction. It was in words. We explained the economic consequences to the ADA, and we discussed clinical reality with them and proposed changes, and nothing changed. The sentences in each category remained year after year, edition after edition. Meanwhile, dentists continued absorbing the costs of anesthetic. Insurance companies continued pointing to that language. Bundling continued, confusion continued. And Tracy, this is your wheelhouse, contradiction. Let them have it.
Well, here's what's interesting is the confusion in insurance companies continuing to point to the language. Remember, these insurance companies are trying to throw the ADA under the bus by saying, well, your own ADA is saying anesthetics included. That's where it gets very frustrating. So here's what makes this specifically and especially difficult to understand. The ADA has publicly recognized that inappropriate bundling by third-party payers is a serious concern. In fact, they say that it's potentially fraudulent. But yet, the CDT category language hasn't been interpreted by many third-party payers as support for bundling anesthesia into procedures. Now, whether that interpretation reflects the original intent or not, it has unquestionably influenced payer behavior. And that disconnect is exactly why it's so important that we have this clarity. When language can be repeatedly misunderstood for years by thousands of payers and providers, it's time to revisit the language itself.
Well,
and so,
yeah, even more to it.
Interestingly, going back to what we talked about with going in and adding, changing, or removing codes and the requests to do that around, again, you can do this by November. When we submitted some CDT code requests with the ADA, they kept kicking it back, telling me that I could not reference to third-party payer reimbursement or costs of doing a procedure as the rationale behind these codes that we wanted to have in the CDT code book. They kept stating that the intention of the codes was for documentation only,
not for payment
and
of services.
Nothing with third-party payers should be discussed.
Tracy, don't they lease these codes to third-party payers?
They do, and they get paid for it too.
Unbelievable. Mm-hmm.
But here's where it's interesting. When I reached out, and several people reached out to the ADA in regards to that language on the top, with local anesthesia usually considered to be inclusive, they stated that it was just a statement that third-party payers might bundle the procedure. So why are you telling me that I can't reference to third-party payers reimbursement, but yet that statement was made to warn us against third-party payer bundling? It's contradictory.
Yeah, or more.
Or more.
So then all of a sudden, all of us that are members, hopefully you've seen the survey come out. Years after discussion, the ADA finally released a nationwide survey to member dentists, and you're welcome, ADA and State Dental Association members. You're welcome because that came because of mine and Tracy's hard work and constant pushing. And at first glance, it looks like a routine survey. Yep. And this is what really frustrated me. But read carefully. The questions are quite revealing. The ADA asks whether the anesthesia codes are sufficiently distinct, whether anesthesia should be documented separately, whether category language, not the codes themselves, should be revised, whether it meaning the language at the top of each category should be removed entirely. Think about that. If removal is now an official option, that means removal has become a legitimate discussion. Okay? That's progress, real progress. But here's another observation. The survey repeatedly asked dentists what the sentence means. And if thousands of dentists, if they have to vote on the meaning of a sentence, perhaps the sentence wasn't clear enough to belong in the CDT code book to begin with.
Exactly. And I want those of you who are listening to realize that if you have not filled out that survey, it is due by, I believe, August 8th. So you have very limited time, and you do need to be an ADA member. They stated that if you do want to voice your opinion, you can actually email them directly. But this survey is open to ADA members. Now, what we did, not only did Dr. Ropp, ADA member, respond to their request for the survey, but I actually sent an email to their coding department with over 650 individual dentists throughout the nation with their responses of whether or not anesthesia should be considered inclusive or separate billable charges. And this was local or regional block. Here's what's cool. Over 76% of those dentists, and it is higher. There's a reason behind it.
Well, explain it to them why it's not higher than 76%.
When we initially put out this survey, the dentists were answering whether or not it was existing as far as what the problem was. And they were putting down, oh yeah, anesthesia is being bundled. And they didn't realize the question is, according to generally accepted practice standards, should it be bundled? And so there was some miscommunication about the actual survey.
Well, a couple things. The dentists thought the insurance companies were dictating generally accepted practice standards. They didn't realize they're the ones that dictate that, not third-party payers. Mm-hmm. Number two, they read the question as if what's currently happening, not what should happen. So they were so upset when they read the question that they
weren't thinking clearly, but that's okay.
I mean, the neuron synapses were just firing in all directions because they're so angry.
I want you listening to think about this. Who told you that it was supposed to be inclusive? And if suddenly you're looking at it from this perspective and realizing the cost of good and overhead, shouldn't it be a separate billable charge? And so this is going to give you an opportunity to voice your opinion and state, yes, absolutely, this is a separate billable charge.
Docs team members, you do not have to be misled any longer. This is a big deal. This isn't really about anesthetic or anesthesia either. This is something much, much larger.
It is.
It's really about assumptions. It's about decades of accepted tradition.
Oh, I was hoping you do that.
I know.
It's so fun.
But it's just like the status quo. This is how it's always been. It's about how words quietly become policy. And we've seen this pattern before. And this is what Tracy and I have really gone after with dental insurance reform.
Well, and this is where it gets fun because we've got bundling. You know what's really cool? We passed a law against bundling.
That's right.
Of service. Well, they still can bundle. They can't force us to write off services in Utah.
Downcoding.
Oh, wait, we passed a law on that one too.
Oh, wait, that one's done, yeah.
Least expensive professionally accepted treatments. Now, we talked about this several times during our podcast, but I want you to realize that most of your contracts will state that reimbursement is for the least expensive professionally accepted treatment. Provider handbooks, absolutely. These handbooks change, but what can you do to fight back on that one?
Oh, we passed a law on that one too. Yeah, that's
Virtual
right.
credit cards, automatic enrollment, automatic recoupments, again, non-covered services.
Non-covered service laws have been out there, but Tracy and I passed a law to make the non-covered services law even stronger, and we're not done yet.
Oh, no, not at all.
We got one more thing we're going to work on this year on non-covered service laws, and every one of those issues started with what? Words.
Mm-hmm.
Words they became policy, and policy became habit. Habits became the accepted truth, whether they were true or not, until someone finally asked one simple question: why? So here in Utah, we decided to ask the why. And Tracy and I, my sweetheart, we stopped asking permission, didn't we? I got so sick and tired of hearing, well, you signed a contract, Rob. There's nothing we can do for you. And then, of course, the ADA's, soft, vanilla. Well, this is what you need to look at, and this is what you need to look at here in the contract. But, you signed a contract. There's not a lot we can do. No. Instead, we're being the disruptors that we are. And we went to work. And over the past several years, we worked alongside legislators, alongside dentists and advocates to pass landmark dental insurance reform laws that protect providers and patients from many forms of third-party payer overreach. And still, to this day, we hope this will change, and we think it's going to. But still to this day, from the recording of this podcast, the ADA, even with the push of the Utah Dental Association workers and leaders,
and multiple emails and contact requests from
multiple, other states have no idea what we passed, and they have kept us so they have kept all the things we have accomplished in this state in the dark, and this needs to stop.
Well, and I want to talk about those reforms because there are things that I'm really proud of. Not only were you and I very strongly involved in these things, but we've gained support from the entire dental community. And it's been fun to watch as other states slowly start enacting some of these things, but they don't know. So the non-covered services law, many states have. But in addition, we passed a law that stated if a service was rendered by the provider and it was needed, then the insurance companies cannot force us to write it off for any reason. That's a huge, huge deal.
Yeah. And all the front office team members, docs, you're listening to this podcast, you really need to have your front office team members listen to that, because that's even more meaningful to them with all the fighting and damage control they have to do between the patient and the third-party payers. The dental insurance companies are always pushing you to write everything off, and if you don't,
they try to say it doesn't meet their plan limitations, or plan requirements. Well, that's theirs. That's not our requirements. We have to meet our own requirements, and so we deserve to be paid fairly.
Bundling, downcoding, network leasing, transparency, automatic recoupments.
Automatic recoupments cannot happen in our state. They have to give us 60 days to pay them back before they even think about doing the automatic recoupments.
And virtual credit cards that suck more profit off of the already non-profitable procedures. Provider handbook incorporation was huge that we did. I mean, it's like, if another state says, "Oh, you have to follow what our company in Illinois says to do."
Nope. I listened to the handbook given to me at the time of credentialing. And here's where it's really fun too, is if services are rendered in the state of Utah and the patient lives here in Utah, I have them listen to Utah law. Now, there are little details with that, which we go over when we start talking about it. But how cool is that we can hold insurance companies accountable, even if they're written outside of the state?
And there's other areas where the contracts and payer practices, they've drifted away from fairness. And that's all we're holding them accountable for is fairness. We can't keep doing free dentistry. That is not sustainable. Our team members need to be paid more than a livable wage, and docs need to be paid more than the average net income that we're seeing across the nation. But one important principle behind those reforms is simple. When a service is not covered or payment is limited by a plan, state law may allow the dentist and patient to reach their own financial agreement subject to the specific statute and the patient's benefit plan. And that's an entirely different conversation than allowing a payer to dictate that a real clinical service has no value. Or was it the ADA that determined the anesthetic codes had no value? This is a $1 million question. I want the answer to that, but I don't think we're ever going to get it.
Well, and I think that accurate coding matters. One of the principles that we've consistently advocated is pretty straightforward. It's code for what you do. And actually, that's the ADA's code of ethics right there, is to code for what you do.
Exactly.
If a distinct clinical service is performed, then you should be documenting it.
Per the ADA code of ethics. So all the docs that are out there that are, giving everybody anesthetic and they're not coding for it, according to the ADA, you are not being ethical in your reporting. So if regional block anesthesia is administered, document it accurately. If local anesthesia is administered, document that accurately.
Which, by the way, I hope all of you know the difference between a regional block and local. I'm just saying.
Oh my gosh.
Documentation supports clinical records, continuity. Boy, I've been struggling today. Of care, risk management, and transparency.
Whether a particular payer reimburses a separately reported anesthesia code is a contractual or benefit design question. But accurate documentation, it shouldn't be sacrificed because reimbursement policies differ. I mean, you should code exactly for what you do. And the real cost, oh God, this discussion has never really been about anesthetic. It's been about respect.
Oh, yeah.
And respect for the profession and respect for clinical judgment, documentation, and the economics of running a practice. It costs us money to do that. And dentists, all these years have absorbed those rising costs for decades. And while reimbursement has often remained flat or declined in real purchasing power, we all know that. And practices continue to invest in technology and training and compliance, safety, personnel, equipment. Yet somewhere along the way, we accepted the idea that a clinical procedure with real costs should simply disappear because one sentence implied it was usually considered part of something else. And the same can be said about technology, such as hard tissue lasers versus handpieces, or CBCT versus just a panoramic film, or any more expensive technologies, medications, materials, and techniques, which we always talk about. Are differentials in those costs supposed to just simply be absorbed in the published reimbursements as a way of doing business? Or do other businesses, do they run like that?
See, and that's where
the coding department really ticked me off, Trace, when you said that code changes cannot be a part of the reimbursement.
Well, and that's where my big push.
That's where it deserves another look.
Well, my big push right now is CO2 lasers. I mean, you're looking at a great, like the Solea.
Yep.
Right? How much is that machine?
It's about $130,000 with all the bells and whistles. It's about $156,937.87.
Yeah, I figured you probably would know, and it's good. That's good that you know, right?
and I love it. I absolutely.
You have a technology that augments a procedure.
Yeah, I don't have to use it.
You don't have to use it, but
the patients request it now,
and they love it.
Yeah,
and
they'd rather not be known.
Now you're in a position where you want to purchase this technology to help the patients. But why would you if you can't be reimbursed for it, or if you believe that you can't be reimbursed for that machine? So from a business perspective, the ADA limiting the ability for us to document these additional technologies is going to cause dentists to fall behind with technology as it advances.
Well, especially with the reimbursement rates we get from third-party payers. Yep. But, I mean, being in medical, and think about it, we just went in and had our calcium checks, right?
And we're healthy, by the way.
Yeah.
Yay.
Thank goodness. Well, the rest of me is not healthy, but the heart's good.
Yep.
So what's really funny about that is that machine costs money.
Oh, yeah.
That technology costs money. Do you not think that the hospitals, the medical facilities, do you not think they are able to build in to the cost of that procedure, the cost of the technology? Do you not think that there are costs associated with that?
Well, what's interesting, you and I, we had an ultrasound done or something similar, and we were told as patients, it is not covered, this technology.
Yep.
Your out-of-pocket is X.
Yep.
And we said, okay.
Yeah.
Could you imagine if the insurance company went to the hospital and said, you're not allowed to do that?
And they made them do it for free.
Oh my gosh, I'd never
It's
do
inclusive. It's not billable to the patient. The EOB will state that. So our message to the American Dental Association, if any of you are listening, this isn't personal, is it?
No, it's not. We recognize that meaningful change within a national organization, this takes time.
It's a big ship. It has to be turned slowly.
We also recognize and appreciate those within the coding department who've been willing to listen because they're there. It's been great to have those discussions with them, engage in thoughtful discussion, and even acknowledge that past language has produced unintended consequences.
That willingness to, when they revisit those long-standing assumptions, honestly is commendable. And we have dealt with people in the coding department, and I would name names, but you know who you are. I love that lady that's there. She has been so helpful.
Amazing.
But when a problem has been identified and documented for multiple years and openly discussed for years, the profession also deserves timely action.
Timely is big.
Dentists deserve that clarity, and patients deserve transparency. And the CDT code, the CDT should reflect clinical reality as clearly as possible. And if that language has repeatedly been misunderstood or used to justify practices it was never intended to support, then revising or removing that language is not an admission of failure. It's actually an act of leadership. It's what differentiates effective leaders from ineffective leaders. And organizations, they build trust, not by pretending they've never made mistakes, but by correcting them when the evidence warrants it. And that type of leadership is what keeps dentists on the membership rolls of the organization.
And I want to go back to timely. Hopefully, the American Dental Association is not going to wait until next year to vote on that removal. They've released a survey. People have spoken by the 8th. And whatever change, hopefully the change to remove that statement from the top, happens within the next 6 months, because with the release of the new CDT Codebook next year, it would make more sense to do it now. Instead of waiting a whole other year to vote on it, that's not acceptable.
And I think what's really important, there's two things that cross my mind. One, how many insurance plans are now in the state of Utah paying for anesthetic?
We are getting a lot of payments for anesthetic.
Do you hear that, nation? We're getting paid because we're billing it, because that's the ethical thing to do. And the second thing is I worry that the surveys going out to the good old boy network that, if you just do good dentistry, the money will follow. Mm-hmm. No. If you actually understand, if you have dental contract literacy, state dental law knowledge, and some business courses, and then do good dentistry, then the money will follow.
Absolutely.
I've always just taught that forever. Well, one sentence.
Yep.
Hundreds of millions of dollars.
Decades of confusion.
And thousands of dentists.
But what finally has happened is a conversation. And that's progress.
But progress delayed still carries a cost, just like you said. Timely course corrections. That's what we need. And the good news is that conversations are finally happening. Questions are finally being asked. And perhaps after all these years, one sentence that quietly shaped an entire profession may finally be rewritten or deleted, because dentistry deserves a coding system that reflects clinical reality, not assumptions, and definitely not ambiguity, not unintended consequences, just the truth, the simple truth. Well, I'm Dr. Rob Thorup.
And I'm Tracy Thorup.
And thank you for joining us for another episode of the My Practice, My Business, Clinical Business of Dentistry podcast. Keep asking questions. Keep challenging the status quo. Keep reading those contracts that you never read. Keep challenging assumptions, and never, ever stop standing up for our wonderful profession. That's the key. And we're stronger as an association, but the association has got to make some changes to keep its membership intact. And I am still a member, and hopefully always will be. I love the ADA. I love our state association more for what we've done here in Utah. And I hope that this year, the American Dental Association will take notice on what we've accomplished here in Utah and help pass that information out to the rest of the nation so that they can have the powerful laws that we experience here in Utah. Very simple to copy a law. Very simple. Much harder to write it from scratch. So for those of us that are plowing the way in dental insurance reform legislation, we hope that you give us a call and call us. And we are actually going through a website remake.
We are.
Where you're going to be able to go to our advocacy section and
you'll be able to see by state all the issues, all the laws passed, all the concerns. We're going to start addressing the check fee question, by the way, which has been circulating recently.
Yep. And the check fee issue is not an issue in Utah.
Not in Utah. We passed a law against it.
You're going to hear the why, and then you're going to have a roadmap to get your associations and legislators on board. There will be a roadmap on how to do it. And I'm excited for that.
I am very excited.
Hey, till next time, we hope you have a great day.
Thank you for being with us today. Since 2006, My Practice, My Business has been teaching dentists and their teams business skills, dental insurance contractual protocols, and state laws governing how to profitably bill patients fairly for the need-based services they provide. What's more, we guarantee our training, unlike other dental consulting companies in the industry. Simply stated, if you don't increase your net revenue, we don't get paid. We call it dental consulting the way it should be. We believe there has never been a more important time than now for dentists to experience and implement our key methods, knowledge, and business training within their dental practices. To learn more about our guaranteed, no-risk clinical business of dentistry training that is changing dental practices for the better, just go to our website, mypracticemybusiness.com, and surf our pages for additional information about our company and the services we provide. When you're ready, give us a call and get scheduled for the most profitable dental business training that you will ever experience. If you enjoyed our podcast, please leave us a 5-star review. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to call us. Thank you again and have a fantastic day.